Hello beings, I'm back, even if it's just for a short while, and welcome to another witchy ramblings over tea. Here it's very gray outside. It's been raining all day. It stopped just now, but still very gray outside, if you can tell. The leaves are starting to sprout. Everything's are starting to look just a little bit more alive. It's still very cold here, and there still isn't any flowers up out of the ground yet. So it's just a chilly and wet spring morning over here. The land is prepared for another round of vegetables this year. Very exciting. I can't wait. As soon as it stops pouring so hard, I'll be planting the beet seeds out into the field. I don't feel like doing it today. It's a little too cold for me. Here's a little friend I've recently acquired. Not sure what we should name him. It's a stray. I've checked with the whole village. Nobody's come to claim him. Nobody owns him. I've made sure. So he comes every day, mornings and nights, for a meal. He's still very skittish. It's actually lucky that I'm even able to get this close. So that's fun. Maybe I'll get to adopt him or invite him inside for winter. That would be nice. So he doesn't have to freeze his little paws off. Ain't that right? So, welcome to my dimly lit little cave to which I escape to every day. We'll be having some tea. It is Yokuro tea. If you guys know anything about Japanese tea, you'll know that this stuff is delicious. So, this is what we'll be having today. I was just thinking about spring, of course, since that's the season we're in. And because today is May 1st, at least at the time of this recording, I've noticed that all of my feeds for all of everything that I am subscribed to, like I don't have Facebook or anything, but everything else, like YouTube and all of that, I've been flooded with Beltana celebration type things. Oh, Beltana, how to celebrate Beltana, what you can do for Beltana, and all that things like that. And I've recently discovered this one YouTuber who is truly Irish, and she was discussing about how Beltana is a specifically Irish thing. And it had me thinking, about how we all, as humans, have this calling to belong. We all want to belong to something. We all want to feel like we're doing something that makes us a part of something, right? And I was looking at all of my quartz because I love crystals. I've been collecting them since I was like 7 years old. And quartz has always been my favorite kind of crystal. And I've noticed that there are so many different kinds of quartz. So many different kinds. And that's actually why I've gotten a variety displayed here. We've got Shangan, we've got Veracruz, we've got a Yungui black quartz from China, we've got a Mongolian black quartz, we've got a Tibetan quartz that's both black and white, we've got a citrine from Congo, we've got a spirit quartz, we've got a Bulgarian amethyst, we've got this quartz, I believe it's from Colombia, but it's just a clear quartz. And I was thinking, what do all of these things have in common? They all look so vastly different, and they all have their own very unique qualities. But something that they all have in common is that they're all quartz. They've just all grown in different places. And that's what I love so much about quartz, is that we as humans can connect to quartz through this way as well, because we are all human innately. You cut us, we bleed, we're all the same. Yet, depending on where we grow, we can all become something authentic, original, and different, and beautiful in our own right. And how this relates to Beltana is the fact that everyone seems to want to celebrate it. And everyone has their own thing that they want to do across this witchcraft path. Everyone's got their own Beltana this, Beltana that. It seems like a big deal. And I've just noticed that there's a lot of copy and paste amongst this community. I feel like we're all, I used to be anyway, chronically online, because we just want to feel like we belong to something, because it's just human nature. We want to feel like we belong somewhere, that we're doing something right, because we know that other people somewhere in the world are doing it too at the same time, doing the same things. But how much of that you are doing is actually you? How much of what you are celebrating really means anything to you? And I came across this thought because here where I live, if I wanted to celebrate Beltana, it's just a little bit off. It actually doesn't make sense to celebrate it where I'm at. Not because I'm not Irish, even though that's its whole other thing, cultural appropriation and whatnot. That's an entirely different topic for an entirely different day. But it's for the fact that, are we doing something just to feel like we belong? Or are we doing something because we feel good, because we feel that it's right? Are we doing something because we feel like that's what makes us a witch, is if we do these things? How much of these things, like the Sabbats, the Esbats, the correspondences, and all these things that we ascribe to certain things that make us a witch, how much of it really means anything to you personally? Is it really who you are? Have you ever tried shutting off everything, taking off, stripping everything down to the bare bones, like remembering who you were as a child? What were the kinds of things that interested you? What did you like to do? You know, I wouldn't be able to celebrate Beltana today because, and it seems like every year, and I've only come to this thought now, and it's why I'm making a video, is that when I was younger, I used to take it all like into account. Yeah, I'm celebrating Beltana, Imbolc, Lunasa, all these different Sabbats, and they didn't really mean much to me. I just wanted to do them because I felt like I belonged. And I'm sure that's not the case for everyone. This is just my ramblings. This will find whoever it needs to find. And for me, right now, it's not even ready to be celebrating the fire and the abundance. I mean, for where I'm living, things are still just waking up. Things are still very, very cold and very, very wet. If anything, today would be a day about celebrating the rain, celebrating the rivers and the water spirits and the earth and the mud and the creation that comes from the water and earth coming together that makes spring for me here. The whole Beltana vibe doesn't really happen energetically, like that Belton of energy doesn't really happen here until about summer solstice time around here. And for me, I do celebrate the solstices and equinoxes, is because I feel like it's actually making a difference where I am. And this made me think, we should make our own, like for wherever you live. Like what I'm trying to say is like back in the day, like let's take the Sabbats for example, because that's what we were talking about. So, for example, why did any of these things exist? It's because a community came together to celebrate something, because something was happening due to something that they did out of necessity. So like Bealtaine was a time for them, like let's say for the Irish, it was about fires and fertility and all that kind of stuff. But here, there's an entirely different meaning. So much so that I don't feel like Bealtaine belongs in my practice, There's always a feeling of wanting to belong. So why don't we make our own celebrations? Why don't we come together as a community? We should start coming together as a community wherever we are, making our presence known, to bring together people, to make our own culture, to make our own traditions. Because this practice will just ever evolve out of necessity, out of experience, out of the land that we're on. It should be something that is personal to you and your community, your family, the spirits of the land, all together. So there's just this call to create and belong to something. And instead of searching outside of yourself, instead of wondering and looking and watching videos on YouTube of what you can do, maybe go outside and see what's going on around you. What does the air smell like? What plants are growing right now? What's going on around you, inside of you? How are you feeling? What's your community doing? Come together and start to make your own traditions, your own celebrations, with your own correspondences. Because that's one of the greatest things about being a witch, is building a relationship with the current land that you're on and building something out of it. You don't have to look to anything or anyone else. You don't have to, like, asking for advice, I understand. Sure, if you're completely lost and you're just starting out. But innately, to be on this path is to feel your way through it, to walk the path with bare feet, to feel the ground beneath you and let your feet take you, whichever way that might go. It might be off the beaten path that most people take. And then through that, others will follow you, and a new path is formed. And it can all be unique to you and your land. It doesn't have to be part of any kind of specific tradition. Like, I get it if you're trying to follow your ancestors and all that kind of stuff. But even if you do, does that feel like it's a deep connection for you? Because I see many people even doing these things where they follow their ancestors and, oh, this is what my ancestors did, so this is what I'm going to do. These are the herbs that my ancestors used, so this is the only types of herbs that I'm going to use. That's all fine and dandy if it really jives with you. Like, if you're really feeling that, like, yeah, this is me. This is what I feel is right. Not like you're just using it as some kind of outline, And I find myself completely falling out of the wheel of the year because it doesn't even connect with where I live. Where I live seems to always be 2 to 3 weeks behind the wheel of the year because I live in a very cold place. And it just doesn't make sense to me to want to bother to follow those kinds of things. But I feel like I might start creating my own traditions, creating my own things. Like, for example, this is going to sound funny, but it's real. I had a birthday once. I forget which one it was exactly, but my little sister was very, very young. I don't know how young she was exactly, but she was very young. And on this birthday, I didn't have a cake. And birthday cakes are a heavy tradition. So much so that even if in some countries birthday cakes are not a thing, they were carried over and now everyone has birthday cakes, right? I didn't have one. And my sister still wanted me to blow out some kind of candle and share some kind of food. So she grabbed an orange, bless her little heart. She grabbed, I think it was a mandarin orange, yeah. And she took a birthday candle and stuck it through the center, like that natural center that all citrus fruits have. And she lit the candle and sang me happy birthday with an orange and a candle lit on top of it. It was the most genuine happy birthday. It was so cute. And then I blew out the candle. She peeled the orange and we all shared a slice of that orange. Now every year, birthday cake or not, we have to do the birthday orange. It has to be a thing. So now there's the birthday orange tradition. And now that I've shown other people this, they think this is like super cute and nice. And now they want to try it out. See, this is how traditions begin. You know? We should make our own tradition. This is how culture is born. You know, so many people nowadays, especially from being chronically online, I feel, complain that culture is dead, you know, or culture is dying. We need to begin to live organically. And what I mean by that is just unplug. Experience your life through all of your senses and not through a screen. Feel your way around, barefoot on the path. Smell, taste, touch, everything. And begin to create anew and create your own. Just like all of these quartz here, they're all so different, but they all have something so unique to offer. It's all quartz, but it's all different and respectable in its own right. So why can't we be the same way? Why can't we make our own depending on where we've grown? You know? It's just something to think about. I know a lot of people know this already, but this is just something I was thinking about today because I don't feel like celebrating a Sabbath, for example, Beltana, which is today, that I don't really feel connected to at all. I never even heard about Beltana until I discovered witchcraft formally. Because if we're being honest, I've been doing quote-unquote witchcraft since I was like 7 years old when I found that piece of quartz. Raising the wind, doing little dances with the pine trees to try and raise the wind. I've got so many memories as a kid just being a witch. And then when I formally found witchcraft, suddenly there was an outline. And I just didn't understand it. I don't understand why we have to have an outline. I feel like we should all be unique to who we are, all have different experiences, all have different things to share. Because so much of what I see online is just people sharing the exact same things in a different way. Like the exact same writing with just different words. There's nothing, just so many things. How to celebrate Beltana, how to, like at every Sabbath, it's all about the Sabbath itself. Like, what about something new? Does it really ascribe to you? Is this really You know what I mean? Because like witchcraft is not a religion. It's a path, it's a practice. You don't have to be glued to any one thing. Oh, this is good tea. You know, to mold and be our own. Just like this crystal skull here. Taking quartz and molding it into the image of a human. We all have the call to authenticity, the call to create, the call to belong. Let us start to make our own little communities where we are and make our own traditions about where we are. And who knows, maybe a couple 100 years from now, people will be looking at our traditions and being like, yeah, this is what these people did around this time. This is what mattered to those people at that time. You know what I mean? Because for a lot of things that witches celebrate now, they just celebrate it because the ancients celebrated it. Not necessarily because it means anything to them. It's just a thing that they do. We need to start finding ourselves without just dancing to someone else's tune because it feels comfortable. We need to find a connection to who and where we are and where we belong in our community. Because that's where the real authenticity and originality and the real flavor of life comes from. You know? So many of us suffer from ennui, this feeling of, like, I don't know how to explain it. For those of you who know what the word ennui is, you know what I mean. We should be better, you know, come together, create new things. And I know this video is just one big ramble, one big tangent. I might be talking in circles. I might be getting nowhere with this. But it's just what I was thinking about, you know. Instead of celebrating Bealtaine, unless it means something to you, try creating your own things to celebrate. For me, I celebrated when I finally prepared my garden. It was a celebration of the earth and what it means to be reborn and things like that. And that's probably going to become a yearly thing for me instead of whatever Sabbats or Esbats or whatever is going on. Because that's where the real power lies and what you experience for yourself. So, just like all of these quartz here, we are all the same, but all so beautifully unique. Let us feel that call to authenticity. Let us feel that call to originality. Get off the online sphere, unplug, smell the air, feel the dirt, let it get under your fingernails. Let your feet touch the rocky, rough surface of the path. Feel the bark and the lichen on the trees. Feel the rain on your skin. Feel how it gives you goosebumps from the cold. And just all in all, feel what your path means to you. And celebrate what you feel called to celebrate at the time that you feel called to do it. And create your own traditions. And bring a community together, bring your family together, and make these new traditions together. Because in a couple 100 years' time, that could be a big thing in the land that you are currently. Make culture. Culture is not dead if we make it live on. And that's really what I've got to say. Feel the call to authenticity. Feel the call to create. And let it flow out of you with the strength of every river. Don't constantly look to others for advice. Sometimes the best advice is right outside your door, growing out of the ground, falling from the sky. whipping through the breeze. It's all there in front of you. All you need to do is feel it.